In the city of Bangor right now, we're seeing a lot of interest in downtown in particular, which is a project that has been many decades in the process and has been a real focal area for the city. We're also seeing a lot of interest in the area connecting Main Street and downtown and the waterfront, particularly around the new arena which we're building, which is a huge investment by the community and connects a lot of key pieces of our public infrastructure.
I think over the last 6 months, we've seen an increase in activity in all sectors, industrial, retail, office. I would say investment, though it's not that there's enough activity. We're just finding that there's a limited amount of product, if you can believe it.
In real estate right now, the activities seem to be around redevelopment, seem to be around a little bit in the residential. We've seen some movement in the residential. Multifamily continues to be a market source that we see activity in. Really, that's about the extent of where we're seeing the market activities. Multifamily, some of the housing redevelopment for subsidized housing, there still seems to be movement in that, although that's a function of a lot of state and federal funding and it's pretty competitive in that market. But that's really where we see it right now.
Probably the softest part that we see in Bangor right now is in office. We do have quite a bit of office space available. There is some movement, but there's not a tremendous amount of new economic development activity in office, and we'd like to see some more there and use up some of the available inventory that we have.
I think the retail market still has a little ways to go. I think it's getting better. Karen Rich from my office in her presentation was talking about some of the big boxes. There may be some more closures. I would say primarily retail and of course industrial in the northern markets, but that seems to be an ongoing thing for the last decade.
The retail side. At one point, you had this big boom of the retail big box folks. We participated in that, in the Walmarts and the Lowe's and all those, and that whole market has stalled. It's obvious that that market has become fairly saturated in this area. We see, just look at what's happened with Lowe's down in Biddeford, up in Ellsworth. That area is just really slowed down. Any retail we see is reoccupation of existing development sites, so we don't really see a lot going on in the retail side.
One of the things that we're really looking for as a shift, and that I'm starting to see in the Bangor area, is we have a lot of very conservative developers who have been part of the development community in Bangor for a long time. They tend to be smart and buy and hold and not really push a lot of activity. Those people are really starting to look around for good value, and because those people are now picking up their heads and saying that they're seeing good value and they're making some decisions, for me that's a leading indicator that those folks are starting to move and other things are going to start to follow.
Well, I think it's on multiple levels. I mean, we're dealing with lease and sale transactions on a daily basis, so the overall activity is a key indicator for us. And it's not whether or not if somebody actually secures a transaction, but it's the amount of inquiries that we get, how close we get to securing a deal, overall competition. One thing that's a positive sign that we see is that before it would be potentially one broker working on a property, and now you've got multiple people competing for space. We find that we're obviously in the Old Port, we do a lot of retail there, is that it's a very healthy environment. So I think on all fronts, we look at activity, we do look at deals that actually have been secured on a lease and sale basis as well.
We look for private sector exploring new development opportunities, private sector looking to expand housing stock, whether it's multifamily, single family. We look for the commercial brokers who might be marketing for new development, looking for tenants or bringing new people in for expanding those markets. So we continue to look for those sort of indicators on the private side. We also, frankly, look to see, we track within our company, we track our revenues by sector, retail sectors, municipal sectors, healthcare sectors, and what we see right now is a decline in all the sectors, or at least they've stayed about the same or reduced a little bit as compared to the municipal market. So as we track those, we look to see that those market sectors begin to recover and grow again, and that the revenues increase in those areas. And I think that over the next year, we're probably going to see very flat growth. And then looking, in the future, I think there's just a lot of pent-up need that will then all of a sudden, as money becomes available, we'll see modest growth after that.